your feelings are valid. You're gonna let someone that is not here tell you, nah, you're not feeling what you are feeling. Does that make? And I'm just still like, ooh, it's a lot. I can't do this. It's a lot. You're not gonna feel anything. It's like, no, but I don't want to feel anything. Keep those feelings there to yourself. There. Hold on. Hello beautiful souls, I am Mommy on a Journey and welcome back to my channel. If it's the first time coming across my channel, welcome and thank you for stopping by. If you're interested in personal development, healthy plant-based eating or just anything in between, stick around and subscribe because that's what my channel is all about. So in this video we're going to be talking about trauma, so basically how to identify it and how to deal with it. So let's start. Alright, so let's start by defining trauma. So basically I'm talking about psychological trauma. So trauma is the experience of severe psychological distress following any terrible or life-threatening event. So basically trauma is a response to a very highly stressful situation or event or an experience. So it can be caused by a lot of things, but you can categorize them into three major categories, which the first one is a once-off, secondly it's ongoing, and thirdly it's overlooked. So by once-off I mean it's one of those, it happened once, never really again. So like a car accident maybe, or you were mugged or something. So something that happened once and it traumatized you. Then the ongoing one is mostly when it's repetitive, obviously. So it's maybe like an illness, a chronic illness, maybe like a cancer, or it's you were bullied a lot growing up, maybe your high school life you were bullied, so that's also a traumatic experience. And then it can also be domestic violence, for example, so either from your parents or from a romantic relationship. Okay, but I guess it's really not a romantic relationship if it's violent. But anyway, let's call it a toxic relationship. So you and your partner have a toxic relationship, they abuse you, maybe emotionally, mentally, physically, doesn't matter, but it's been going on for a long period. So there's that. And then the last one is overlooked cause. So that this is something that most people don't really think of it as trauma, but it actually is trauma because you experienced a very high stress level during that experience and basically traumatized you. So this could be something like you underwent surgery and it was quite traumatic to you, but you didn't think much of it because it's like, oh, it's just surgery, but it's actually a big deal because, you know, there's always complications with surgeries, there's always other stuff. So this was stressful for you. And then it could also be a breakup. You know, sometimes breakups cause a lot more stress than people give credit to, and this was actually a traumatic experience for you. And yeah, so people overlook this. And then another thing could be you were humiliated in public, or you were disappointed, great, like a big disappointment. And especially if someone like was intentional about it, or someone was intentionally cruel to you or humiliated you on purpose. So this could also be a traumatic experience. Now that you have the gist of it, let's get to how to identify it. So basically this is my opinion, this is from my experiences. Sure, I read here and there a couple of articles, some psychology articles, some other blogs and all of these things about this, but mainly this video is mostly my opinion and my experiences. So let's start from the beginning, from the actual trauma, and then we'll work our way. So firstly, you are in the moment of this traumatic experience or this stressful experience, and then you are there. It's real time. You are there, and then this happens and you get overwhelmed by a certain emotion or emotions. This could be pain, this could be fear, this could be humiliation, this could be disappointment, this could be anything, it could be sadness, it could be anything, but mostly it's a negative emotion. So this overwhelms you and it becomes so much that you can't cope or deal with it at the time. So as a defense mechanism, you sort of dissociate yourself, like you take yourself out of that moment and you just observe. Sometimes some people, as they dissociate, they sort of react, and it's those people that will start shouting and banging and this and that, and then when they calm down, they're like, oh, I don't know what I said, I don't know what happened, I just got overwhelmed by anger, or I got overwhelmed by this or that. So some people are like that, but most people will end up just dissociating, and then they're quiet, and then they sort of out of, you know, in movies when there's that scene where it's like they zoom out and everything almost shrinks and everything is like in a muffled sort of voice sound or something. So you know that scene, it's something like that. You sort of get out, it's like an outer body experience and you're just observing what's happening. and then as the moment, it's a moment, it passes. So as it passes, you sort of like okay, and then you come back to your senses and you move on, right? But as you keep going on your daily life, it could be the following day, it could be a month, it could be a week, it could be a year, it could be 10 years, it doesn't matter. The point is, after the traumatic experience, you then have flashbacks of it. So it could be the flashback of the actual incident that happened and it keeps flashing in your mind, or it could be of the feeling. So sometimes you will have, let's say you were fearful at the time of the trauma, so you keep having these bursts of fear out of nowhere. You just have this I'm fearful, you understand? So it could be flashbacks like that. And then secondly, you could have nightmares. So it could be certain dreams of the actual incident happening over and over in your mind, or it might not be the exact incident, but it could be almost like some incident that seems unrelated, but it brings about the same emotions. So let's use fear again. Let's say you were scared at the time of the trauma, and then in your nightmares, you maybe it's a different scenario. Let's say you got mugged, but in the dream, you sort of like are beaten up by someone and now you scared, you understand? It's something that looks unrelated, but the feeling is the same. So you now keep having these repeated dreams of fear, you understand? So thirdly, you avoid situations that remind you of the traumatic experience. So let's say you were mugged, so you're gonna avoid the specific area that you were walking at or driving around or whatever, but you're gonna avoid that place that experience happened, or you're going to avoid driving around or walking around in dodgy areas because you don't want to be mugged again, or you'll avoid maybe walking around with a handbag because maybe they stole your handbag, or such things happen. Or it can be so extreme that you avoid feeling what you were feeling at the time. So let's say you were mugged, you were scared at the time, so you avoid being scared. So anything that makes you scared, it can be as simple as you scared of the dark, you're gonna avoid the dark by all means. You are afraid of whatever, but anything that it might look like it's not related, but because there's fear involved, you're just like I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna, you try to control your environment like that. And lastly, you are sensitive and quick to react to certain stimuli. So anything that sort of triggers you're quick to react, because you're trying to protect yourself from having the trauma happen again. So you are quite sensitive to that. And then from there, it starts being like you're quite anxious, and then it borderline depression and all of that. And we all know, I think we all know the signs and experiences of depression and anxiety, where you are irritable, you're quite hostile, you isolate, you know the typical stuff. So that's what ends up leading to you being anxious and leading you to be depressed. Or it might not be as bad, but you just have these symptoms and signs of it. It might not be that you get diagnosed with these things, but keep in mind that it doesn't happen exactly as I mentioned. We are people, we're different, and we experience things differently, we express ourselves differently, and a lot of things can come into play, so it can vary. So firstly, trauma can happen from the day you were born all the way to your current age. So a lot can happen in that period. And also, if a trauma happened when you were young, in your childhood period, when you weren't really fully developed, you'll react differently from when you experience it once you're fully developed and you're an adult, you understand? So that also varies. Secondly, we as people are different. We experience things differently, we express ourselves differently, we see things differently, our realities are different. So sometimes what might be major to you is minor to me, and what might be minor to you is major to me, you understand? So we experience things differently, And then lastly, we react to situations differently. So sometimes one person might need to isolate themselves from a situation, and that's how they deal with things, that's how they will heal in a suitable way for them. And sometimes some people need people around them. So some people will just want to be with their friends all the time, some people want to be with their family all the time, and that's how they will heal better. But it's not a one size fits all, remember? So if, let's say, people are like, no, you can't isolate yourself, be around people, and people bombard them, their healing can be prolonged because they cannot heal the way they feel they could heal, because everyone is in their space and they need to be alone in order for them to heal properly and process things differently. But other people might feel like, I need to have a lot of people around me, I need to be with my friends, I need to be with my loved ones, and that's how I will heal better. And you isolate them and be like, oh, they need to be on their own, let them process things. And that prolongs their experience, because for them, they need people to help them with their journey. They can't do it alone, you understand? And then obviously you need to know the type of person you are. You need to know the type of people that are around you, so that you can know, okay, when is the time to isolate, when is the time to come, when is the time, do you understand? So with healing, there comes different stages and different phases, and we need to know which to apply at which stage. So that's basically how to identify traumas and basically what happens after a traumatic experience. So now I just want to share with you a few of my stories of my traumatic experiences, so that I can explain it a bit better, and then I can also explain how to deal with traumas in your life. So the first example I'm going to make is basically to show you that there are flashbacks of moments and flashbacks of memories that could be from a traumatic experience. So the first one for me, it's more of a childhood flashback, where when my father passed away when I was 3 years old. So basically, in this time, obviously I was a child, I didn't really know what was happening, but I remember being in a car with I think it was my aunt driving, but I know it was my aunt's car because at the time she was driving a Mazda Sting. It was one of those blue or turquoise color, but I think it's more to the blue side. That was that car. And then we were in the car with my cousins, and then I think we were driving from the church to the house. But then as we got to some turn, everyone went that way, and then we went to the turn to the house. So during that separate road, I saw the hearse with my mom sitting in there, and she was looking all sad and everything, and they were driving towards the graveyard. So and then I remember like smiling and waving at my mom, and we drove to the house. So that's the recurring memory that I have of that incident, you know. So I think for me, because I was young and I was emotionally immature and couldn't understand the concept of death, for me probably that was like a coping mechanism for me to sort of grasp the idea of death. I don't know, but it's basically a traumatic experience that happened, and I didn't deal with it at the time, so it sort of housed itself as this little flashback that keeps reoccurring in my life. Because I mean, I was 3, I still have vivid memory of this experience, you understand? So that's that. So the second story I'm going to share is basically to show the physical elements and what happens after trauma. These are probably the obvious and most expected experience or reaction to a trauma. So this happened when my partner at the time passed away. So the boyfriend I had at the time passed away. So let me explain how it happened. So basically, he was from KZN. We were both staying in Joburg at the time. So we were taking another trip to KZN to his family, and because they were having a wedding that weekend, so we left I think that day before to the house. And a lot of stuff happened on this trip, but I won't get into those details. I'll just keep what is needed for the story. So what happened was, okay, we got to Kwanongoma. From Kwanongoma, the following day we woke up, drove to Durban, and then on our way, when we just arrived to Durban, he was like, no, actually, let's go to the beach before we go to the house. And then, yeah, because it was a Friday, we left the Thursday, Joburg, and then got to Nongoma Thursday, Friday, we woke up, went to Durban, and then, okay, fine, the wedding's on Saturday, I think. Yeah, the wedding was Saturday. So yeah, we in Durban. He's like, no, let's go to the beach first before we go to the house and just chill out, and then we'll go back to the house later. And then we missed our off ramp, and then a lot of other drama happened until we now had tire problems, and we were stuck in the middle of the highway. Like, you see that island area, that green grassy area in between the highway. Yeah, it was stuck there, and then we had to call the family to come help us, and then an uncle and one of the cousins came to help us and everything. And then he left with the uncle to go get a tire and other stuff, you know. So they left, and then we stayed with the car. And then when they came back, it was dark now. So he had this thing of, he liked switching on the light of the car when he's driving at night. I don't know why. So I kind of knew that was them coming because the light was on, and automatically I'm like, ah. So my back where they stopped, my back was sort of towards it, but I was looking over my shoulders to see, oh yeah, the car stops, and I was like, oh, obviously it's them. So obviously, you know, when someone's about to cross the road, you look to see, is it clear? So I look, it's clear, okay, he's walking in, and then out of nowhere, a car comes, like speeding like crazy, it comes and it hits him. So I'm not gonna go into the gory details. So I witnessed this that was happening, and in that moment I literally had the same experiences. I saw what was happening, I knew what happened, I could feel what happened, and there's a lot of stuff that went into my mind, and I dissociated myself. So I basically observed what was happening because it was very overwhelming. So I observed everything that was happening from outside, if that makes sense. So then, sure, I remember in that moment, I sort of lay down on the grass and looked at the stars, because that was almost like, okay, a lot is happening, you can't really face it right now, just calm down, relax, you'll deal with it, you understand? So I lay down. I remember there was this cold breeze, and the ground was cold, and I was looking at the stars, and I'm like, you know, you're having that internal conversation of, you know what just happened? Yep, I know what just happened. And then it's like, okay, so are you not gonna feel anything? It's like, no, but I don't want to feel anything. Keep those feelings there to yourself. There, hold on, wait there, you know. So I'm having this internal dialogue, people are doing things around, and it's just, yeah, a lot happened at the time. And then fine, so that threw me off. That threw me off. I think it was worsened because of what I was going through at the time, because at the time I had finished studying, and I had 2 degrees. I had no job, I was not employed, and so my world is sort of crumbling underneath me, because obviously you have this idea, this vision of yourself, like, okay, I'm gonna go to high school, after high school I'm gonna go to varsity, after varsity and study, I'm gonna get a job, and when I get a job I'm gonna have this house, I'm gonna have this car, I'm gonna do this, and this is the life I'm gonna live in, and this is how I'm gonna be happy, I'm gonna get a family, I'm gonna get a husband, I'm gonna get, you understand? You have that idea instilled in your head. So things were going accordingly, you understand? So when I finished studying and I wasn't getting a job, because this was like a couple of months after studying, so for me I was supposed to get a job immediately when I finished studying, but I didn't. So I mean, month 1 passed, month 2 passed, like I'm now sitting and I'm not getting a job. So that sort of started my world, my sense of self sort of started crumbling underneath me. My reality started crumbling, and literally I was basically already shaken, you know. So I was already down and under by this experience, you understand, of not having a job and everything like that. And I'm a person that I hate depending on people. So I was depending on family members like my mom, my cousins and everything. Not my cousins, my okay, I guess technically my cousins as well, but my aunts and everyone, and depending on them for an income, because I'm not working and I'm not doing anything, you understand? So that was really another knock on my sense of self. And then I'm not really much of a friend person. Yeah, I have a lot of acquaintances, we can hang out and chill, but having like a friend where I'm hot, it's not really often. So I probably had like 1 or 2, which is my cousin and another friend of mine, but you understand, everyone else was far, living their own lives, so I'm okay with that. But I'm that type of person. So socially I'm also, my world's crumbling. And then so it's career, it's finances, it's socially, spiritually. That's when I started my spiritual awakening started also. So around that time where, you know, you start seeing the difference between religion and spirituality and all of those things. So that's also happening. So religiously, so spiritually, my world's also crumbling. And then what else is there? So yeah, so it's all of these elements in my life that are crumbling. And then this happens where this was the one thing that you think, okay, Sharp, at least here, Shem, nothing is really crumbling. I'm in a good relationship. This guy is a very decent human being, and I can see a future with us. I can see us getting married, having kids, That's sorted, like, you know, at least all these things are crumbling, but I can work on it. I'm you know, I'm still hopeful. But when this happens, so it's basically all different dimensions of my life are crumbling, and this happens, and I actually witness it, which is funny enough. When I think about it now, I think it was somewhat of a blessing that I actually saw it with my own 2 eyes. Sure, it traumatized me, but I healed quicker. I like things afterwards. When I look back now, it needed to happen that way for me to be the way I am now, you know. But that's a story for another day. But basically, all of this was happening and I sort of crumbled. It was bad. It was bad. I was in the rut of the rut. I was even diagnosed with depression. I was taking pills. I was drinking like a fish, you know, like a fish, you know. People that knew me in varsity and stuff knew I drank a lot. But here, this time, I was worse. Those are times 2 worse. I drank a lot. But fine, it was that bad. I didn't deal with it well. I didn't handle it well. So yeah, basically I was in a very, very dark place. This was one of the darkest places I've ever been in to date. So it was very dark, a dark place. So basically in this time, now back to my point. So in this time I would have flashes, but this was a bit different. I never had flashes of the incident. Sure, I had a memory of it. I could remember the graphics and everything like that, but it was more of like, I used to call them like shock attacks because I didn't know how else to explain it. So in that moment, my body would start shaking, like physically start shaking, and then I would almost like see you know, lightning, like that light, that sharp light of lightning. That's what happened in my eyes and my head. I don't know, but I literally couldn't see anything, but like almost like it's like a bright light in my eyes, like doing this. That's what happened. I'd have that periodically, like randomly. It's like mostly happens at night. This happened at night, right before I sleep, or even if I sleep, I never really slept actually. I probably would sleep maybe an hour a night if on a good night, but that hour was probably divided like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 30 minutes nyana, 5 minutes nyana. I never really slept, so I was an insomniac, and I had these shock attacks, and then it's like every time I'm about to fall asleep, the shock attack comes, where that flashing light comes, my body starts shaking, and I'm like literally I can feel it's like I don't know how to explain that thing, but it was bad. And it's almost like you have this feeling inside of you. It's like, you know, when you're nervous, like when you're extremely nervous, something is about to happen, you're nervous, it's almost like you're overwhelmed by that. And then there's this emotion, I honestly cannot explain what emotion that is. I guess it's a mixture of like anxiety, it's a mixture of like, there's like some sadness in the background. It's a mixture of like being electrocuted. I don't know, guys. I honestly do not know how to explain that thing, but that thing happens, and then as it like you start shaking, it's like you are falling inside the bed, or you're falling inside some hole, but you're not falling. I don't know how to explain that, but that's what the physical reaction was. And then sharp in the day, most of the time I was just basically numb. I didn't have any emotions. Like I wasn't angry, I wasn't sad, I wasn't happy, I wasn't angry or pain. I wasn't in anything. I was just like numb, and which got worse with the medication because it was also like a very numbing. That was, I think the medication made it worse in a sense of, I felt like, how can I put this? It felt like it made me wanna feel something. Like I was already numb, and then it numbed me even more, and then I felt frustrated with the numbness and I wanted to feel something, and I ended up doing things like drinking to feel something, or I ended up being risky, having risky behavior because I wanted to feel something. You understand? I don't know, but we'll talk about those meds in another video because that's a whole nother story. But yeah, so basically you start being like, obviously your characteristics are still there, right? You still portray, like I'm a very giving person, I'm a very kind person, I'm a very nice person, so I was still very nice and still very kind to people, still very giving, still very this, but I had this other character on top of that. You understand? It was more of a, I don't know, man, like I didn't really care about anything, didn't care about anyone, didn't care who felt and how they felt and how what way. Yeah, so yeah, that thing stayed for a while, but after healing, I mean, it goes away. You start feeling bad for, oh shame, I wish I never did that to that person, or I wish I was like, I didn't say that to that person. You understand? So there's a lot of other things, But yeah, so the point of this is that not just to show you the physical element and what happens. And I know a lot of people might be like, oh my gosh, all of that because of a boy, blah 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 blah. And it's like they didn't know the behind the scenes. They didn't know what happened. It wasn't, my world wasn't crumbling because of this one incident. My world was crumbling because I had linked my sense of self, my self-worth, you could say, to a certain idea. So I linked my sense of self to having degrees, studying. I'm academically fine, you know. I have 2 degrees. I have an honors in what. I have an undergrad in what. You understand? That was linked to my self-worth. From there, I have to have a job after this. So my sense of self was, if I get a job, I mean, my ego's like, yeah, girl, you know, I have to have a certain car. My ego would be like, yeah, girl, you know, I have to have a certain circle of friends, you know, I have to have a certain lifestyle, I have to have a certain partner in my life. I want to get married, I want to have kids, I want to, you know, this is the dream I have. And because after studying, my dream started crumbling bit by bit. It was almost like an accumulation of this crumbling, like everything was just falling apart. And then the last thing that was still in check, because I mean everything else is not in check, everything else is just down, like it's non-existent. The last thing that I had remaining was at least, you know, yeah, it's not the best thing, it's not the number one thing I wanted, but at least here I have someone that, you know, it's my person. Like, I'm okay with this person, we're good, we're cool, we're gonna have a future together, hey, hominat. And at least this will keep, it's here, and I can keep fighting for this. So when the last little bit crumbled, it was like I saw nothing of me worked out. The idea I had of me worked out, which is actually a good thing, because all of these things had to crumble for me to get a different idea. Or you don't link your sense of self to materialistic things. You don't link your sense of self to your achievements. You don't link your sense of self to such things. You understand? You link your sense of self to your life. You are alive. This is your self-worth. You are living, and your life is the value. You understand? So what are you doing with your life? You understand? I think that's where it starts going wrong. You now, instead of saying your life is what is valuable, and now you want to make the best of it, and just to, you know, be grateful to life, and you help others, and you do this and you do that, and you fulfill yourself, and you know, that's how you do it. But now you misinterpret that whole thing of you need to make the most of your life as that's the worth. So you now de-link it from the life itself, and you link it to your actions or your materialistic things or whatever. You understand? You measure it wrong. But story for another day. We'll talk about self-love and self-worth in another video, but I just wanted to touch on that. But yeah, the point is that there are physical elements. People would think, or it's mostly psychological and all of that, but they do manifest physically. That is my point of this story, is that to show that they do manifest physically. You do get physical symptoms. I was skinny because I couldn't eat, and I couldn't, the whole thing of you can't eat, it's not because of, oh, I'm sad, I can't eat. It's not like that. It doesn't feel like, oh, I'm not eating because of an emotional pain or whatever. No, it's more of, you forget that there's such a thing called food, because either you are in your mind the whole time, or you are busy with people and things. Because I was more of a, when I'm out, I'm out with my people, drinking, you understand? But when I'm isolated, because I have periods of I'm out, then I have periods of I'm alone, I want no one to talk to me for the next couple of days. You understand? So I'd oscillate between the 2 states. So in that, because I'm so busy with that, and I'm busy in here, I don't eat. You understand? And I'll be that thing of, man, I think I should eat, man. You know, let me eat something. I'd have like a bite of something and sharp, let's move, or let's sleep, or let's something. Even though you don't really sleep, you just like, it's just messed up state. But that's the thing I'm trying to emphasize, that sometimes it's not just one specific thing. It's almost like a build-up of things, or accumulation of things that throw you off, or sometimes it can be that one experience, sometimes it manifests physically, sometimes it doesn't. So it differs from person to person, you understand? And some people, the extent of something might be intense for you, but it might not be intense. Someone else might be able to handle it, you understand? So it's also differs like that. So anyway, let's put that story aside. And the last story I'm going to share, this one is just to show you that an overlooked situation as well, and also a bit of something that you yourself don't really want to admit to, you know. So this story is my birthing story. So when I gave birth to my son, it was also a bit of a traumatic experience. I know this, people know things like baby blues, people know things like postnatal depression or something like that, postnatal, post baby, I don't know, but after birth depression, you understand? There's such terms because birthing is actually traumatic, guys. So I didn't think much of it, and I didn't think it was a big deal. I just thought this is how it's supposed to be. But only when I look at, or when I've read about this postnatal depression, about baby blues and all of that, is when I start to realize how traumatic of an experience giving birth is. So for me, I was supposed to give birth naturally. It was supposed to be, oh, give birth, hey, baby, come out, yay, love of your life, man, you raise this child. Obviously it has its ups and downs, but you know, that's how it's supposed to go. So when I got to the hospital, we got there I think at 10, the night before, 10 o'clock, and they're prepping me and everything. From midnight, I'm in bed. Okay, I'm waiting for things to happen, you know. And then at around 2ish, I think I was like 2 centimeters dilated. And then sharp, I'm like, okay, it's going. The contractions, I can feel them. That machine is doing the things, like, you know, we are in motion. I'm excited. I'm nervous, but I'm excited. And then the day goes, and it's like 3, almost 4 o'clock. And the nurse is like, the midwife, she's like, okay, you're gonna have to make a decision soon whether you're gonna continue like this, or we're gonna have to cut you, you know. And I'm like, no, I can do this. Just give it some time. Got this. Yeah, at that time, I've been on balloons. You know those balloons? I was on the balloon. I've been there. I'm lying on the bed. I stand up. I walk. You know, all the typical stuff. And I expected it. I mean, they prep you. Like, oh, giving birth is difficult. Giving birth is this. Giving birth is that. But, I mean, I was ready for this experience. So it's like, okay, Shab, got this. I can do this. Got this. But, okay, Shab, 4 o'clock. The nurse comes and is like, okay, no, you are not, like, we are done. You are going to we're gonna go rush you to the emergency section. We're gonna prep you, everything. Sharp, we're not gonna do this. It's been too long. It's been the whole day, so no. And then I'm like, okay, fine. Like, you know that your heart is crushed. Yeah, no, I really wanted to give birth naturally, but okay, if it's bad, if the nurses and the doctors say I need to be rushed, let's go. Sharp. I get prepped and everything, and then we go to the theater. Also another, I think that's being in the theater is also traumatic on its own, guys. That environment is just, there's something, it's very cold, and not just physically cold, like inside there's a coldness to it. Yeah, but that's a story for another day. Luckily the doctors were very nice. They explained things and everything, and the actual cutting of that experience also, that's also a bit messed up also, because guys, you feel every single thing they're doing to you. When they cut you, you can feel it. Might not be painful, but you feel the cuts. Then they tell you, okay, we're going for the next cut. You feel them. You can feel them fiddling in you. You can feel them pulling you. You can feel, yes, that's another experience also. And then okay, sharp, the baby comes. Okay, so wait, this is the first thing that was a bigger, like, okay, these are the things I can sort of overlook, you know, like, okay, it's like mild traumas, nyan. And then this one was when the doctor opened my gynae. He opened, and when they saw what's inside, they had this, you know, that fear in their eyes. And I was like, ooh, my heart, I'm looking. And they start speaking Afrikaans, you know, so luckily I understand Afrikaans. So the doctor, my gynae, is like, oh, it's a good thing we rushed her in. Hey guys, my heart, I'm like, ooh, what's happening? And it so happened that TJ had defecated inside because of, they said it's fetal distress. He was pushing so hard. I'm struggling, he's struggling. It was just a mess because I was still 2 centimeters dilated, you understand? So it was a difficult experience for both of us. So he sort of defecated in there, and then apparently that's bad because the child can die also. It's just, yeah. So in finding out these things, like right there and there, I'm freaking out. I'm wondering if he's okay. And then now everyone just went quiet and everyone just rushing, cutting, pulling, doing what. And I'm just sitting there like, yo. And now Happy luckily was here, so he was kind of comforting me and be like, oh baby, ing. And now we're speaking here, but my heart. So that was also another experience. And then okay, Happy goes, they take him out. They didn't even bring him to me yet. They just went directly to that thing. I don't know what they were doing there. They called Happy to go there. He was also busy there. But now I'm sitting there and it's like, okay, they're fidgeting with me. They're telling me they're doing what, they're putting what in, they're doing, they're fixing me, basically putting me back together down there. And I'm just there like, I just want to know if my human being is all right. And then luckily they bring him to me. I see him. But there's that thing also of, I see him, but I can't hold him or feel him, or you understand, that connection is not really there yet, but I can see but it's that excitement mostly of it's my little baby. But yeah, so yeah, finally they go, because apparently they don't leave the baby alone, they don't take the baby alone away, so Hubby has to go with them and see where the baby is and stay with the baby the whole time until I'm ready to go up and all of that stuff. So fast forward, the first night everyone leaves, I'm alone with the baby, and I'm like, guys, this was also another experience. I didn't sleep the whole night because firstly they were like, no, we can take the baby to the nursery and we'll take care of him and you just rest, and then we'll bring him when you're ready. My heart was like, ngeke, not my child. All the horror stories I've heard of nurses baby swapping, njani. I was like, no, my child is staying with me. And I was there. I didn't sleep the whole night. Every time I'm like, what if I don't hear him crying? What if? So you can, my stress levels are very, very high because I'm just, this little human being is my little human being. I love this little human being. He's mine. Created it. Gotta be alive. It's fragile, but I need to keep it alive. I need to protect it. It's that instinctive thing that just kicks in. And then that happened the whole night. I'm exhausted. My stress levels are still high. I'm just, it's a mess. Fine, fast forward, we are home. This incident also happens that also threw me over. This is the one that threw me over, where my mom was there for a couple of weeks, I think 2 weeks for my post-birth. And yeah, so she was here, and then what happened was, I can't remember the details of it actually. All I remember was he was, I think TJ was either coughing or choking or something, but it was a brief thing. It wasn't a big deal apparently, but at the time everything's a big deal because you just don't want your child to die. I don't know, for some reason there's this stress of I just don't want my child to die. This thing is fragile. This thing, anything can happen to it, and it's all on you. You have to make sure that this human being is alive. This life is your life. You need to make sure it's alive and it's well, so that the stress of that is like in your head, like you can feel the stress in your body. That's how bad it was. So when he was choking in this moment, and okay, fine, sort him out, whatever. I think he was choking. I can't remember, but it was just like in my mind, it was a life-threatening situation. And okay, fine, we resolve it with my mom, quick, and I put him down in his bouncer. And as I see that he's safe as well, I shut down. I'm like, I can't do this. And I'm like, okay, I was saying to my mom, no, I'm gonna go nap. And I go to the bedroom and I just lie down. And I'm just like, ooh, it's a lot. I can't do this. It's a lot. And then Happy was sitting on the bed at the time. So I like crumbled and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna nap. I'm tired. I can't. I just feel overwhelmed. And then so him and I have a very close, can I call it a spiritual relationship as well? I don't know, where I don't have to say anything. He automatically knows what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking, and he knows what to do. And it's not even just with thoughts and feelings. It's like sometimes he'd be craving something wherever he is, and I'd end up getting it for him or making it for him or cooking it for him, and vice versa. I'd be craving, I don't know, like ice cream, and he comes home with ice cream, you understand? And I wouldn't have told him and he would not have told me, but we automatically know. So we sort of have I don't know, it's beautiful, I love it. So yeah, I come in, I get in bed, okay, I can't do this, and then he comes and he like cuddles me from the back, yo, okay, ice cream. But obviously I'm not a crier. I don't like crying. I hate being seen vulnerable. So I'm at this time, I'm just like, you know that crying where you like that crying, I'm making no sound, but I am crying until I pass. I don't even know when I stopped crying. I just fell asleep. And that's when I started realizing that this experience is very traumatizing for me, because I'm always tense, I'm always high, I'm always anxious, I'm always, and it took a long time for me. I think it probably took maybe it took 3 months. I don't know, but it took a while for me to like calm down and be like, okay, sharp, you've got this, doesn't matter who said what happened. I don't know, probably I had baby blues, probably I had postnatal depression, but because I'm the person that I am, and I was like, ngeke, I'm not going to let that hole again. I'm not going to let this, my focus is this human being. I don't care whether I'm depressed or what, it's fine. That depression can go sit there. I have to take care of this human being, you understand? So that was what was happening. So also overlooked, also prolonged, also, you understand? So sometimes there are other factors that come into play with your trauma, with a traumatic experience. It might not just be that once-off event or that once-off experience. Other things come into play. How you're brought up comes in, how your life experiences, how you perceive things, everything just in that moment of high stress. Point is, you can be traumatized by a lot of different things. Some things might be obviously, okay, this is a traumatic experience. Some things are not that obvious. Some things you think you are fine until fast forward later you realize that no, actually I was not. You understand? Because I mean, with my birthing thing, I didn't really think much of it. I was like, oh, that's how new parents are, that's how you are, sharp, move on. But when when you feel it, you're like, no, but actually I should have known, because the way I was feeling, the way I was, like, even now, the tension you feel, fine now, mentally I'm fine, but physically I need to let go of it physically. I don't know, so a lot of these things build up in you. They don't just manifest in your actions or in your experiences or in your whatevers. They also are there physically. They stick to certain parts of your body, you understand? So yeah, those are my stories. I hope you understand them and you see them for as they are, and I hope they can help you in some way, and you can identify certain traumatic experiences in your life. Maybe something I said could have triggered something, and you realize that actually, yeah, you might have not realized how traumatic that was, but you can see with your actions afterwards, that might have been a traumatic situation, So let me just wrap up quickly and explain how to deal with it, and yeah, then we can close the video. This might have been quite a long video. It was all over the show, but I think the point is put across. So wait, before I get to the how to deal with it part, I think there's something I just feel like sharing with you guys. Sometimes when you are experiencing something, right, you are there, you are experiencing it, you are feeling what you are feeling. Don't let someone invalidate it. Don't let someone come and say, you'll be fine, it's no biggie, this or that, it'll, like, when someone just makes it seem like whatever you are feeling, you are overreacting, or you're being dramatic, or it's really not a big deal, you understand? Don't let someone saying that to you make you think that it's not a big deal, you just overreacting, and that what you are feeling is not true. That is the worst thing you could ever do, is believe someone that says that. You are in your body, this is your body, you are in it, and you know what you are feeling, you know what's happening in your mind, you know what's happening in your heart, in your emotions and everything. It's your being, you know what's happening, So you're gonna let someone that is not here tell you, you're not feeling what you are feeling. Does that make sense? So please do not let anyone invalidate your feelings. Do not let anyone tell you you're not feeling what you are feeling. Your feelings are valid. Your experiences are valid. And whatever happens to you and you feel a certain way, it is what it is. You are feeling it. Please don't let anyone invalidate it. Okay? So let's move from that. Actually, let me make an example, okay? So that I feel like you need to understand it properly. Probably you do, but I'm just being extra. As per usual, let's say two neighbors here. This neighbor, let's say the mom passes away of this household. Mom passes away. Oh, who said? Following day, this house burns down. And then this neighbor, they all survive. No one passes away. They all survive, but all their belongings, all their money, everything is just burnt. And then this neighbor tells this neighbor that, at least you guys still have a roof over your head, so you shouldn't be complaining about the death. And then this one says, at least all of you guys are alive. You have each other. You shouldn't be complaining about the fire. Do you understand where I'm going here? Just because someone else's experience is different, or it's not the same as yours. Pain is pain, guys. Pain is pain. Or whatever feeling. A feeling is a feeling. An emotion is an emotion. Whatever you are feeling is valid for you and your current situation. So just because someone else has it worse or someone else has it better, it does not invalidate your experience or your feelings. You get? So, okay, let me not go on about that, but that's basically my point. Please, your feelings are valid. Your experiences are valid. It is your reality. So don't let anyone or any circumstance just confuse you there, okay? Okay? Okay, so now that you understand that, and now that we are at the end of our video, I'm just going to mention a few steps quickly of how to deal with traumatic experiences and how to overcome them, So basically, in real time, if it's happening in real time and you want to process it and deal with it as it happens so that you don't have to deal with it later, which is much harder. So you basically you recognize the violation it has to your sense of self and the violation it has to you, So let's say something traumatic happens, you experience a loss, you experience abuse, you experience whatever it is that you're experiencing. You recognize that, okay, this is a violation to me. You understand? You recognize it, you see it for what it is, and then from that point you feel the natural emotions. So let's say you see, okay, it was a loss, and it's a loss to me. I lost this person I cared about, and this is how I feel about it. You understand? Now you start feeling the actual emotions, or actually feel sad about it, or it's painful, or I'm scared because of this and this situation, because without this person, whatever. I understand. You feel the natural emotions that come with it. There's also like guilt and all of these things that unfold after that. And then after feeling the natural emotions, you need to understand that this has nothing to do with your self-worth. This has nothing to do with you. You understand? So it's an experience that happened to you, but it does not affect you or who you are. In the case of an old trauma, it takes a lot more processing. It takes a lot of admin from you, because firstly you have to identify the trauma itself. So because it's been buried deep down through a lot of life experiences, through a lot of time, through a lot of things, you buried it. Maybe you were trying to run away from it, so you're trying to avoid it and all of these things. So it's buried deep down, so you have to first dig it out. So you'll know, maybe you have a certain flashback, and in that flashback, sort of like, hey man, maybe there's something to this, or you have certain repeated thought, or you have certain fears, or you have certain situations that you're always avoiding, or whenever something happens you feel uncomfortable, especially if it's like almost in the same category of, man, every time this happens I feel uncomfortable, or there's this anger I have when this happens, you understand? But you never know where it comes from. So you start thinking, okay, man, maybe there's something more to this. And then you start digging into it. You start digging into it. You start digging into it, and you follow that pathway. Oh man, why? You keep asking yourself, and then you have these flashbacks, and you're like, actually, where is this coming from? Okay, you understand? So you keep digging and digging and digging and digging until you actually identify the trauma itself. And then once you identify the trauma, then you start with this process of, okay, first you have to think of, okay, why do I feel like this? What am I feeling? What is happening here? And I actually have a long video on processing about all of this. So I'll link it in the description box. I'll link it up here, and you can actually watch that video where I talk about processing. So that's basically what you need to do: process and follow the steps I just mentioned, and basically you are on your way to heal. You are on your healing journey, and things start getting lighter, and you start realizing a lot of things about you, and you're able to live your life the way you should, the way, like, very light and free and purposeful, and the way it's supposed to be, you know? So yeah, I feel like I've taken enough of your time. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was very educational. I will hope it was entertaining also. I hope that you at least learned something. So I really hope this video serves you well. I hope you received it well, and please like, comment down below, let me know how you received the video. Let me know what your thoughts are, what you're feeling, your experiences, what happened, or if you just want to tell me that, you know what, I learned something, or you know what, please talk more on this, and I'll talk about it, you know. So here, I just want to be here for you guys. I just want us to be free to talk about these things, you know, because a lot of times we don't have opportunity to speak about these things publicly and hear other people's opinions. So I think this is a beautiful platform for us to just, you know, converse and have fun and feel free and burden ourselves, you know. So with that being said, please share it with your friends, give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe to my channel. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. I truly appreciate you guys. I love you guys.